Hi, everyone. Brian Fritton here with Havoc Shield. We're taking some time to introduce the astonishing members of our new advisory board. We've been very serious about ensuring our products are designed with and by the best in the business, by those who have been in the job of defending companies, small and large. And for that reason, we've assembled a group of professionals we trust to help us build the best cybersecurity program we can for the millions of small startups and businesses out there in need of help. And the reality of cyber threats today is that small companies are attacked just as often as large ones, but they don't often have the time or resources to defend themselves or benefit from the competitive advantages of a solid security stance. And so the advisory board is designed to bring those resources to our customers. You'll be hearing much more from our members throughout the year, but today I wanted to introduce you to Kendra Cooley. Kendra and I met while Havoc Shield was in the Techstars Accelerator in early 2020. We really hit it off quite quick, with a shared vision of how to design a security program for small companies and what I think where the largest impacts are seen. Kendra has been a consistent advocate for us, and I'm really happy we were able to get her on the board. Kendra, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Excited to chat about all things Havoc Shield and security today.
Thanks for being here. So tell me, I've got the benefit of knowing a little bit about you, but for the folks watching, tell me a little bit about your past experience. Like, what drove you through to making the stops that you did in your professional journey?
That's a great question. And I can say with 100% certainty, just like a lot of folks in the security industry, I did not have a traditional path to where I am today. So I guess to kind of start from the beginning, I took a job with a huge insurance company. I was born and raised in Michigan, pretty much right out of high school. And through my time at Jackson, I eventually found myself in a role where I was the administrative assistant to our VP of information security and the mainframe, as ancient as that sounds.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in my very first security risk meeting, hearing all these terms being thrown at me. And I was like, what is this world that I just found myself in? And over the next couple of years of working very closely with the VP of information security, I kind of started taking more of an interest in it, and found myself kind of being pulled away from the traditional like invoicing and planning travel and all of that kind of stuff, and started looking over the fence a little bit, and found myself shadowing some of the folks on the team who were doing computer forensics for the company. And at the time it was like a lot of like inappropriate use of company assets, which I mean, I'm sure you can imagine some of the stories there, but I ultimately just decided that I was going to go back to school to pursue something in computer forensics. So ended up going back to Davenport University, which is kind of a smaller school in Michigan, and got my degree in computer forensics with the intent of using that degree not in the security space, but really to help like put child predators away. And as I got towards the end of that program, and I was still working in security at Jackson, I very quickly realized that forensics, for what my initial intent was not going to be a fit for me, just because the content was horrific and just not something I could look at on a day-to-day basis. So I think what initially drove me to forensics is actually what has also kind of carried me through my security career, which is at the root of it, like helping people, right? And I think we can both agree that at the end of the day, security is nothing without people. So once I finished my degree, I took a position within the same company as a security administrator. So kind of, I've seen a lot of different aspects of security, and eventually found myself in a security analyst role at the same company. And again, I just still wasn't super sure that this was the field for me, but where it actually clicked was when I kind of got thrown to the wolves, and they were like, hey, you're going to provide security awareness training for the entire company, which we had multiple locations across the country, about 5,000 employees across the US. They were like, you're going to travel to these locations and you're going to train everybody on security awareness for National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, I can do that. But that was actually where I found my passion for security, because I realized at the end of the day, this isn't just sitting behind a computer getting, alert triage, all that kind of stuff coming in on a daily basis. There's people at the heart of this. And so after Jackson, I ended up moving on to Duo Security, which was an extremely exciting new adventure. I was brought in there as just a normal security analyst, and again had the opportunity to kind of build out their security awareness platform, or security awareness training, which was really, really exciting. And then kind of dive more deeply into the incident response stuff, which was super exciting.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Um, when my time at Duo was finished, I moved on to MailChimp, made the great move down to Atlanta, which was super exciting. And from there, just kind of helped start building the entire internal security program, which was very exciting for a company that at the time was about 750 employees when I joined. Security from an internal perspective wasn't necessarily kind of top of mind. They were really focused on their application. So it was really cool to bring that internal security perspective to that company. Afterwards, I took a leap of faith and joined a very, very small startup based in Detroit, which unfortunately ended up not working out in my favor. But it landed me at Webflow, which was a fantastic company that I spent about a year and a half with. And again, was the first security professional to join their company. And there, they had a very, very I would say aggressive plan when I joined in March to complete their SOC 2 by the end of the year. And I'm happy to say that we were able to pull through that, but it was a lot of work. And now I've found myself at a company called Flock Safety, where I've taken on yet another adventure, which is both the IT and security components of the company. And it's super exciting. Again, getting to build a program from square one and helping to bring that security culture to a new company. I can tell you I have learned over my past few companies that I've worked for the right approach and the wrong approach to starting a new function in a company. And I will tell you that my approach when I joined MailChimp was probably a little aggressive. I came in kind of guns blazing, like, hey, this is what I've just seen at the company that I came from that was very security focused. This is what we need to implement. The problem being, MailChimp was on the larger side when I joined, about 750 employees, as I said, and it can be very difficult to steer a ship of that size. I remember constantly hearing, well, this isn't the way that we've done things in the past. And that can be, that can be disheartening to people who have a passion for what they're doing. But I think what I've learned, especially from that experience and with the other two companies that I've joined since then, Webflow and Flock, is that as a security professional, and I think this really applies to any new function in a company, like you have to walk in the door ready to listen and understand the way that the business works. I think, all security professionals will probably tell you security is not a one size fits all. Yes, there are certain components and certain elements that all security programs should have, but how you implement those things, how you get the company to actually care enough to want to join that progress path with you, it's all different. It varies from company to company. For instance, my path with Webflow, it was very obvious what they wanted, right? They were like, SOC 2 by the end
Yep.
of the year, this is our goal, let's go do it. It's super, I don't want to say it's easy to execute when you have a goal like that, but it gives you a very clear idea of what the organization is trying to attain. Whereas I can say, for Flock, their desire to have a security professional start felt a little bit more organic, if I can say. I mean, they weren't hiring a security professional to go right for SOC 2. It wasn't a compliance driven hire by any means. It felt very much like security was something that was, or is something that's very top of mind for them. So
Mhm.
they just knew that they needed someone to fill this position so that they could continue to build on their security practices and not at the end of the day have it be a compliance or sales driven tactic. I think it really depends on the size of the company, to be completely honest. I mean, I've now worked at companies that are super big and have huge regulatory authorities that will give them huge fines if they're not handling data appropriately. And that kind of takes me back to my life insurance days of when I started out. But then you look at these smaller companies that I've worked for, and oftentimes what I see is driving their desire to build these security programs, or it's really like competitiveness in the market, right? So if you have a product that might be similar to someone else and you want to stand out, and you can say, hey, like, this is our security posture, we take this very seriously, that could really give you a leg up.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of like how things have kind of shifted over the years, I think what we're seeing more and more of is that people understand security is a big deal now. You can't turn on the news anymore without hearing about another breach, or another business whose reputation has suffered. And I think that as much as a security professional, I'd like us to take a more proactive approach to security. I think that uh, risk really is a great driving force for some of these companies to take security a little bit more seriously and realize that it isn't something that can fit all on one person's shoulders, or one team's shoulders. It's a shared responsibility. We all have a part to play in making sure that we're handling data appropriately. My younger brother and his wife have a chiropractic office in New Jersey, and I do everything that I possibly can to coach them on, good practices, and talking them through the third parties that they're using for payment processing and patient records and all that kind of stuff. And just to try and get them to understand the full weight of, one, the data that they have access to, and just how important it is, and how it truly could tank their entire reputation if they didn't take it seriously. Since our first conversation, you, first of all, as a founder, shined through to me. I think the first conversation we had, I heard you say so many times, like, I'm not an expert in X, Y, or Z. That's why, you want to work with other people in the industry who do have, those capabilities or that experience, that knowledge. And so you, first of all, as a founder, like, your humility is one of the main reasons why I'm super excited to join Havoc Shield as an advisor. On top of that, as you said, like, I'm a huge fan of the startup space. I think, as I mentioned at the beginning, my career has been a lot of going from one company to the other to build out a security program. So to my core, I know the challenges of being the first person to take on security at a new company, not knowing where to start. As I said, it's not a one size fits all. And I think that your product is fantastic in the sense that, it is very TurboTax like, where you can kind of bounce around a little bit. It's guided, but at the same time, if step one doesn't necessarily make sense, let's move on to step two. Maybe that's an area that you're more prepared for right now. So yeah, I mean, at the heart of it, like, what Havoc Shield is trying to do to protect these small businesses and make it so easy is exactly why I'm very excited to be here. Not to mention, there's always tons for me to learn. And I think the other folks that you have on your advisory board are fantastic. I'm going to have the opportunity to learn a lot. And, it's just very humbling to be a part of something like this.
Well, great. I mean, thank you for those kind words. I mean, the thing I love about talking to you every time is this shared humility for just wanting to learn more and expose yourself to what else is out there. And I know that I've grown an incredible amount from being able to talk to you and the other members of the board. So I'm very very excited to do it more often. But I want to be respectful of your time, so I'm gonna ask you to leave us with maybe one tip. We always like to make sure we lead with actionable help. customer or not, we spend a lot of time on those types of resources. So any word of advice or tip on helping our small business and startup listeners secure their companies?
I have a couple actually that I would like to share.
Great.
So first, inventory. Inventory everything. You have no idea how much that actually helps you when you start to build out your security program. You can't protect what you don't know exists. So the earlier you can get on that, jump on that train of inventorying your assets, knowing what software you have deployed in the company, it's just going to make your life so much easier. The second thing that I would say is don't be afraid to write policies. Don't be afraid to write down your procedures. It's only going to help you as you continue to grow as an organization and mature to have something either to reference back to, and also just say like, oh, wow, look at how much we've grown. They don't have to be super verbose policies, just anything that really sets the foundation for what you as a company are willing to accept from a security perspective, how your employees are interacting with data, all of that type of stuff is really important. And the third thing is don't take this is how we've always done it as an acceptable reason for not making a change when it comes to security. Ultimately, if we want to do this right, we all have to be willing to grow and change and adapt. And if you're maybe the founding security person at a company, just make sure that you can really break down for your stakeholders why a change is important, before kind of ramming it in there, because that's not a great way to make friends.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think I mean everything from the inventory through policies and everything, to that end is it takes a lot of humans talking to humans to make it all work. And I think that those policies usually tend to be more legalese, Times New Roman, size 12 font. But I think we've learned this from a couple of you know iterations of trial and error in our own product. Is the best policies are the ones that are clear and that you actually follow, right? And you can only do that if you're sort of marketing the right things to the people inside the organization and helping them do their jobs. So
Absolutely.
uh,
You can't make them in a vacuum either, that's for sure. That goes hand in hand with understanding how the business works, knowing what's important to the company, and making policies and procedures that actually fit your business. And I think that that's exactly what Havoc Shield is here to help with. So I'm excited to get to be a part of that journey and help advise the building of the product.
all right. Well, thank you, Kendra, so much for joining the board and for being on and doing this with us. Thank you so much.
Of course. Yes. Thank you.